For Sean Combs, the idea of finding, losing, and recapturing love, or his belief of such, would create his most experimental and vulnerable album to date. Released December 14, 2010, Last Train to Paris was the first and final album by Diddy Dirty Money. The collective brought together by Diddy himself was composed of singer-songwriter Kalina Harper and singer-songwriter and former Danity Kane member Dawn Richard. The name for the group derived from a night in 2005 while at a strip club in Jacksonville, Florida. Diddy stated in an interview, "People heard I was there, and all of a sudden so many people came in that I had to rush outside to my truck. I was sitting there with a bunch of money, and I was like, damn, this is some dirty money." A light bulb went off that day. Inspired by 1980s R&B bands such as Loose Ends and Soul to Soul, Diddy defined them as two bad divas, one for the left and one for the right side of me. This dynamic would manifest through the album's simplistic concept of Diddy's alter ego traveling from London to Paris to regain the love he lost. Incorporating elements of tech house, Eurodance, and hip-hop, Diddy, Kalina, and Dawn explored the themes of love, from finding such love, losing it, and reclaiming it through the symbolism of Paris, loneliness, regret, lust, and self-realization. Nearly 11 years later, we revisit Diddy Dirty Money's quest to find oneself and their ideation of love through Diddy's heartbreak and dance experimentalism on Last Train to Paris. The city of Paris is known as the City of Love, and over the years, many Black musicians, writers, and artists have found a home, a sense of refuge here in the beautiful city. For Diddy, he uses the city's symbolism of light and love as the backdrop for his conceptual dance album, centered around love, lust, loneliness, and self-realization. In an interview with MTV News, Puff stated, "One of the things Dirty Money trying to represent is emotion, not being afraid to show emotion on record. A lot of records out right now, no disrespect to them, but they're all surface. It's about what people have or dance. All our records are going to be about love, feelings, and emotion. Last Train to Paris is a love story and the most vulnerable album I have ever been involved in. It's raw emotion. You get a feeling, a vibe." That specific vibe, curated by none other than Puff, would consist of an all-star team of R&B, hip-hop, and pop's best and brightest stars at that time. From Skylar Grey to Justin Timberlake, to Chris Brown, Drake, Nicki Minaj, Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, Swizz Beatz, Usher, James Fauntleroy, Wiz Khalifa, and the iconic Grace Jones. Puff and his team would piece together a vibrant and hypnotic project that at times feels just as chaotic as the alter ego's journey to find the love he housed in his love interest. Released to mostly positive reviews from critics, they praised Puff's imaginative and experimental style, while also crediting the album's swagger and flavor to Kalina and Dawn. The album also marked a change in the hip-hop scene following the release of Kanye's magnum opus, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. While hip-hop and fashion has always seemed interconnected, at the turn of the decade, rappers such as Kanye, Diddy, and Pharrell would help push the door wide open for acts such as A$AP Rocky, Lil Yachty, Lil Uzi Vert, and others to be accepted more into fashion's thriving and influential space. The album's prelude mixtape, a free mixtape of 7 songs, was even released exclusively via Vogue's website as promotion for the release of the upcoming album. Puff also introduced newer forms of music promotion through a then still developing Twitter app, creating an app that integrated his social media platforms and active Twitter feed. Of course, there's that infamous album release party on Ustream that had a hair-flaming viral moment, but we won't speak on that. In the years since the album's release, it's often overlooked when discussing 2010 albums that were groundbreaking and genre-bending. And in an era where albums such as Watch the Throne, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, 21, and Lemonade were released, it's easy to see how. However, Puff's achievements and intentions with Last Train in Paris shouldn't be ignored. The album helped initiate a change in what sounds hip-hop could experiment with, played upon the concept of finding love and finding oneself while experimenting with what most mainstream hip-hop lovers weren't yet prepared for. Puff opened his heart and his ears to how music was changing and saw fit to be brave enough to join in on the movement. From the haunting rap ballad Angels, featuring two of rap's heavyweight MCs, past and present, to the sobering pop oriented tune Coming Home, that offered warmth and vulnerability in the midst of Puff's alter ego's need for salvation. There's the electro dance auto tuned club track Hello Good Morning, that featured one of the coldest verses from hip hop's then newest queen. The fan favorite Shades, that oozes with seduction and lust, as Puff croons through computer altered vocals that he'd pour gasoline on his heart just to light his love cigarette. And the melodic combination of Darkchild's keys, tambourine, and hand clapping on I Hate That You Love Me that induces a mesmerizing beat that seemingly draws you into the dance floor over Dawn's pitch perfect vocalizing of lust and heartbreak. There are many shining moments on Last Train to Paris, and it's one of the few times we've seen Puff so honestly bare his soul musically for us to enjoy. While many agree that the album feels hectic and overly electro-laced at times, one thing is for certain. Diddy Dirty Money created an album that 10 years later still sounds refreshing as it did all those years ago when Puff, Dawn, and Kalina allowed us to venture on a journey of love, lust, escapism, and introspection on Last Train to Paris.